Geschlossen hier.
Ich halte das lieber alleine. Muss man da nur irgendwo anfangen.
And when they examined their slide rules, they settled on two formats, a 26-metre span and a 29-metre span. The additional 3 metres to be bolted on only if conditions were favourable. The aircraft can only be flown single-handed with the extended wing, by then 90 feet and comparable with a Boeing 727.
We built the SB-10 in 1972. It is the largest glider that exists at that very moment. The performance is extremely good, but we didn't have the chance to show this performance to a great variety of people.
So at the moment it appears as a novelty almost. It's an extraordinarily large plane, but you haven't proven to yourselves that it can really fly a long distance.
We ourselves believe that it is able to do this with the SB-10. That's why we brought it to Australia. It seems that only the measured performance is very good of the SB-10, but not the realistic performance. Perhaps people might think the thing is too large, you can handle it in the air, and we think we can do it, and we want to prove this by making a world record that will stand a few years.
So you're looking forward to Australia and perhaps a freedom from some of those restrictions?
Yes, we have in Australia first very good weather conditions, and around Alice Springs hardly any air traffic control, and so it's a country without any problems over here.
There are a few problems though. I mean,
yes, there are a few problems with very bad problems, I'd like to say, with in case of an outlanding. The land around Alice Springs is very rough, and so an outlanding is a big risk to the glider.
If the group are to set a record triangle around Alice Springs, they'll have to beat 850 kilometres, a record won over the South African Veldtland by a European team. And although there are no other ships of the SB-10's dimensions presently competing for that trophy, there have been significant technology breakthroughs since the giant glider was built. For example, a German company, Glasflügel, now market a sailplane constructed almost entirely of carbon fibre. When the students built the SB-10, they could only afford the centre stub wing section to be constructed of this weight-reducing material. But the Ackerflieg team feel they have the ingredients for victory. Hans Werner Grosse, world distance record holder as mentor, and the Australian weather.
It's quite a difference between the southern hemisphere and the northern hemisphere, and especially if you are very close to the equator, it's the problem that you cannot fly after the sun. The sun is always in the top, and you cannot say where is east, where is west, where is south, and where is north. Only where is upstairs and downstairs. That's all. And I hope we can manage it, especially as we get help from Hans Werner Grosse, who is famous for his triangles around Alice Springs, and he will show us how to manage with this problem.
It's a little homestead with an airstrip. You could land there.
Hans Werner Grosse, the quiet German businessman with a passion for distance flying, has now had 5 years' experience with Australian conditions. Today he gives the Ackerflieg team some last-minute instructions before their first Australian flight from Gawler. It's imperative the pilot's navigation is faultless if they're to lose sight of the airstrip on their first flight. Even around Gawler, there are enough telephone wires, fences and trees to reduce the frail craft to matchwood if an error of judgment is made. And then, after 2.5 hours of construction, the craft is ready for flight. A trinity of grace, size and German attention to detail. The canopy is offered, the umbilical tow line, a few quick steps to keep the wing from snagging, and the campaign for a world distance record is underway. In flight, the SB-10 is a sight to quicken the heart of aviation buffs. The dihedral of the wing flexing in thermals through 5 feet and dwarfing the wingspan of the tow plane dragging it aloft. In free flight, the craft is majestic, and even on weak thermals has no difficulty cruising at 100 knots, faster than most single-engine aircraft. With a glide ratio of 50:1, the SB-10 could conceivably float along for 50 miles if it was at 5,280 feet in still air. With flaps extended and air brakes on, the big ship literally dives at the ground. But nonetheless, a fairly admirable effort if it had been achieved by just a recreational pilot. How does this man manage to coax his aircraft for hundreds of kilometres further than anyone else?
First of all, there are no real secrets. When people understand how it's done, probably there's a lot of people in the world, glider pilots, who could do just the same. What you have to find out with long distances is that you have to know about the local weather, that you have to know about the local, landscape, how it produces thermals and when. And then you have to be very fit. You have to do a lot of exercises, running, jogging, things like this. And then, of course, you have to sleep a lot. And if you do all these things and you train, well, hundreds of hours in gliders, then you could do it.
But you must be under constant pressure. If, say, the lift is falling off and you're getting increasing sink and you're still 300 kilometres away from the task that you'd set yourself, do you ever find yourself taking risks to make that distance?
Not really, because if you take risk in aviation, you've had it. There's all the pilots who have been flying for a long time are very, very careful. And I personally, heroes, for instance, make me sick. Yeah? If there's some type of new pilots or new flyers, they usually try to behave like the Red Baron or things like this. This is not thing you can do when you fly over areas like Alice Springs. You have to be very, very careful.
Yeah, but I have heard stories, Hans, that you've been prepared to fly over scrubby districts where other people wouldn't fly, and you're prepared to jettison the aircraft.
Well, if you understand the weather, and you have, for instance, cloud streets that go from one horizon to the other. You just follow your cloud streets, and however low or however high you are, it doesn't matter. You fly with utter safety in a glider. I would rather fly over scrub in a glider under a cloud street than with a normal aircraft, because within one-engine aircraft, the engine always can quit, and then I've had it. But the cloud streets are pretty safe.
As this film goes to air, Hans Werner Grosse and the Ackerflieg team will be in Alice Springs. Day by day, their distance triangles getting better as they acclimatise themselves with conditions, waiting for the exact wind, heat and humidity variables to snatch the record. If they succeed, the Australian centre will go on the world gliding map along with the Nevada Desert, the Allegheny Mountains and Pikes Peak in Colorado Springs. And the SB-10 will have been proven to be much more than just a gliding curiosity.